Hello, and welcome to Find Out Nation. I'm one of your hosts, Jaime.
I'm one of your hosts, Nicole.
And we are here to talk about the state of the United States since the Trump election.
Yes.
Nicole, I think you are keeping track of our dates.
Yes, we are 20 days post-inauguration, 6/31 to the midterms.
I will be happy when we're under 600 days to the midterms.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that'll be when we get to some of those big milestones.
20 days is shocking. Like 20 days is absolutely shocking because so much
feels
has
like
happened.
200. Yeah.
Yeah. So much has happened. And we're not even technically at 3 weeks. It's crazy.
No. It just feels like a daily barrage. Honestly,
I know.
Like
it
a daily
literally
barrage.
is a daily barrage. So we are knee deep into Trump's DOGE and the real president, Musk, who is really like completely trying to gut.
Like we can't even call him a shadow president anymore, can we? After everything that's gone on? Yeah.
No, there's no shadow whatsoever. Yeah. But some good news. Federal judge yesterday blocked DOGE's access to Treasury payment systems, which...
Thank God.
Which is shocking. So now the Treasury Department payment systems, the records, they've been told to expunge those records. Now, we know how that goes.
Do you think they're going to do that? No. Yeah, like forget everything you've seen. Like we need the little flasher thing from Men in Black.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Just forget everything that you've downloaded.
As they're downloading everything.
Well, so to that point, I saw I can't remember where it was that, Starlink, they track how often Starlink comes into our system, which Starlink is the satellite company that Elon Musk owns, and it provides like rural areas with internet access.
Oh, got ya. Okay.
Right. And so someone had a graph of how often Starlink was coming into like the Washington, D.C. area or whatever, or coming into this is terrible. Like, I don't know why I'm sharing this, but anyway.
No, you're fine, because I don't know what it is.
It had like spiked 300% in the last month or last 20 days or something crazy like that. And I'm like, all signs point to the fact that it's all Musk downloading shit. Terrible, like terrifying amounts of data from all of the government, since they have everything available in the government. So super fun. Oh
my God.
Love that journey. Especially because DOGE. So while the fact that DOGE is stepping in and they have now effectively shut down the CFPB. So the actual, the agency that was put in charge of protecting Americans, kill that. Cause what is that point?
Yeah. Right.
USAID. We've killed USAID. That's gone, like put on halt completely.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that DOGE has killed in the last few? I know that they've got all the Office of Personnel Management records.
Yeah.
And I know that they are basically going in, and all of their staffers as part of DOGE that work for Musk have been given like a clearance, a access, so they can go any government
anywhere
building
within the government. Yeah.
And there have been several Democratic senators who have been barred from going into these buildings, which is
they couldn't access. Yeah, they couldn't access USAID this week. They couldn't access the Department of Education building this week. I know that they have gained access to the records for NOAA, the Transportation Department, and the Center for Medicare and Medicaid. And I love this as well, that Musk is self-determining whether he is engaged in any conflicts of interest, which is already a conflict of interest, bitch.
Yes,
like, nobody gets to self-determine any of that. But
apparently he does.
I mean, apparently Musk does. Yeah. Apparently with enough money, you do get to self-determine those things for yourself. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, so AOC was on TikTok this morning, and I know you have deleted TikTok from your life.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that AOC has deleted TikTok, or was on TikTok this morning, saying that we are no longer a threat of an oligarchy. We are in an active oligarchy at this point. Yeah. Like, it is what 100%. It is.
Yeah. Right. Like, start calling it that's what Joyce Vance, who I follow on Substack, and I get her emails every morning. has said, start calling it what it is. It's a fucking coup. Just because they didn't show up in military vehicles and storm the Capitol and the White House, like what, you see in third world countries, what you expect of a traditional coup, doesn't make this any less of what it is. This is a coup. Correct. They've taken over all of our federal systems. And like Russ Vought told the Financial Protection Bureau folks today, don't show up for work. You're done. Yeah. You're permanently on hold until we can access the systems and figure out what we're going to do. I have a quote do you care if I read it real quick? That I found from Chuck Schumer. Okay. So this was on Al Jazeera, from February 3rd. Chuck Schumer said, an unelected shadow government is conducting a hostile takeover of the federal government. DOGE is not a real government agency. DOGE has no authority to make spending decisions. DOGE has no authority to shut programs down or to ignore federal law. Exactly. DOGE's conduct cannot be allowed to stand. This is a question that has a very clear answer. Congress and Congress alone has the authority to enact appropriations measures. And then in the same article, a University of North Carolina law professor said, the president does not have unilateral authority to shut down an expenditure or instrumentalities funded by Congress without the authorization of Congress. Special government employees are only allowed to work 130 days out of a calendar year, which is what the White House has said Musk is. They can either work paid or unpaid. It's unclear which of these categories Musk is falling into. They must provide financial disclosures and abide by ethics rules, including not involving themselves in matters in which they have financial interests, such as SpaceX and Tesla, who have received $15.4 billion in government contracts over the past decade. Which is a conflict of interest. That's why you cannot self-determine your own conflict of interest.
Yeah. So, and the guys working it's been widely reported.
Are you talking about the grade A staffers? Is this what you're talking about? These highly educated and trained staffers.
So our friend told us, don't let us get into the crazies because it'll take away. So I'm really trying not to get into the crazies. I'm like, okay, DOGE is fucking insane. We know this. Right. And they're looking at Social Security. They're looking at Medicare. They're looking at Medicaid. They're looking at payment systems. They're looking at everything the poorest people in our society relies on. They're looking at all those things. People, wake up. They're looking at your Social Security and moving that later. And your senators and congressmen, yes, they should at least have a say. They don't even have a say in this because we're just...
the ones that have the say are not saying anything because they wanted to privatize it for 1,000 years.
That's right.
This is what they want to do.
That's right. But I would be remiss if we did not talk about this crackpot staff. They are...
Agreed.
Their average age is between 19 and 25. They are...
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Some of them are high school, all they have is a high... So they tried to make it illegal to announce the people that are working on this project, but Wired...
Why?
Right. Wired had already identified 6 of them.
Good for Wired.
So my favorite is Edward Korestein. He's 19. He's a dropout of Northeastern University. His LinkedIn profile listed his username as Big Balls. Yes, ma'am. Good old 19-year-old Big Balls is on the case, y'all.
Working for DOGE. Is on the payroll of DOGE.
Case. Okay, but for real,
I'm glad Big Balls is looking into things. That makes me feel so confident in
Indeed. But can I
what
tell
they're going to do?
He was fired from a tech company in 2022 for leaking proprietary company information. Yep. Do you think from a cybersecurity firm, he was fired a couple years ago for leaking proprietary information? Can I just tell you,
my God.
And he now is at the Office of Personnel Management. He has a GSA email. He has a suite clearance. Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God.
He's my favorite. I will say some of the people
I knew there was another one that got fired for some previous social media posts. Mm-hmm. And now he's back on the case. So that's good because we all know that those kind of things don't stick in this White House.
So this is Marco Ilez.
Yes, that's his name. Not big balls.
Not big balls.
Not one and the same.
Indeed. And he's been, he's had access to the code for Treasury. So he's one of the primary people working on Treasury.
Okay.
He posted on X, just for the record, I was racist before it was cool.
I didn't. How old is this fucking guy?
25. He graduated from Rutgers University. He interned at Amazon, and then he went on to work for SpaceX. So here's my thing.
Racism was cool?
He said, I was racist before it was cool. Yep. Yes, ma'am. He argued for the repeal of the Civil Rights Act. The fucking Civil Rights Act.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Racism was cool, son. Law, like, before your time. You're trying to be like fucking Civil War and beyond.
This is what they mean about make America great again, make America racist again. Like, that's what they want to do, right?
That's what they mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So there's that. Luke Ferrator, 23, was a dropout from the University of Nebraska. He did drop out of college. He has GSA email address, A suite clearance, and he has been given access to the USAID systems as an executive engineer at the Office of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, which they don't do much, right?
Right.
Yeah, these people that they are looking at, it's just absolutely.
But these are the bros, right? These are the ones that they courted the entire campaign on Joe Rogan's podcast, through the MMA fighting shit, like all of it. These are the bros that they were going after as their voting block, because these are the bros that hate women, because nobody will fuck them. Like, this is the thing. You know what I mean? Like, this is, so I'm still shocked that that's who's working for DOGE, and yet I shouldn't be, because this is who they courted most of the campaign.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. In fact, I would venture to say, so like I have this theory on financial Wall Street bros and the way things work with stocks and the stock market, that it's just a group of people who know how to artificially manufacture money. And we all buy into it because we can make a little bit in our retirement accounts and things like that. But in general,
and we all think they're so fucking smart.
Right. Wall Streeters have learned how to pay themselves.
Yes.
Doing things and saying words to try and confuse us, when at the end of the day, like, it's not rocket science. I feel like we're getting tech bros that are doing the same thing, where they're like, oh, I've worked for Amazon, I've worked for Meta, I've worked for whatever. And so I'm a super smart tech bro. And so one of the kids, Gavin Kilger, 25, he did graduate from the University of California. He has a article out there titled, Why DOGE? Why I Gave Up a 7-figure salary to save America. If you pay to get into, it's on, I think, Substack. When you pay to go into the article, it's blank. I'm like, these kids are just fucking insane. They're just insane. But can you imagine making 7 figures? Like how do you create it? These people are creating themselves an industry and then creating themselves payment for those industries that are just astronomical. And the hard part is we've ingrained so much of our lives into this technology. Myself, I am the worst of it, because I buy the new everything.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like handing them my money.
You're very tech savvy, where I am not. So I have to constantly remind myself that just because I don't understand something that these people are doing doesn't mean they're fucking geniuses either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
To your point, some of them I'm sure are. There are some kids on here that like graduated top of their class, graduated UC Berkeley, created, companies at 22 years old. One of these kids created this Spark and AI scheduling assistant, or Energize AI, which develops Spark and AI scheduling assistant. And so like he's been a runner up in a hackathon, and there are people on here that obviously are very intelligent and do have a lot of it. But I will tell you that having worked in an industry where I've worked with a lot of really smart, intelligent tech people, if you don't have somebody that also has like the knowledge, the institutional knowledge, how things work, and are influencing what those tech bros are doing, you don't get very far. So we created a product and we brought in all these like super smart tech bros to do this product. And we already had a very similar product in place that most of us who had like tribal institutional knowledge had worked on for years. You worked on the same product. They came in, they thought, oh, I'm going to do this thing and it's going to be great. And it's a tech bro and it's a digital first product. And when the original product was launched, we did 2 million of that product. When this product was launched, we did less than 100,000. We still have not and the products are not
because they don't understand the end goal.
Well, if they're not having a conversation with us to say, why has this product been successful and not successful? And we can say it's because of this, or it was because of that, or why did this work well? Because of this or because of that.
Right.
If you don't have conversations with the people that know how a product works or have known how history has worked, you are going to, first of all, you're going to make the same mistakes you've always made. And no level of tech bro is going to figure that out. And so with this whole activity of being, I'm going to shove all of you old people out of here, two things. Number one, you're getting none of that knowledge. And if you're just leaving it up to, which is essentially what they're doing, right? They're like, I'm going to shut down your department. I'm going to bring in my DOGE people and they're going to like take a look. So you have that problem. But here's the other problem that you have. You're now making your current employees look like bad guys. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about this week was the fact that around 60,000 people, I think I've heard, have taken the federal buyout because of various reasons. But they're all terrified to tell anybody because Elon Musk has made them look like these inefficient, low-performing, lazy workers. And that's why he had to get rid of all of them so that all federal government workers fall into this category, and we're going to get rid of those and then like bring in like better people, right?
Right.
And so now you're making your old timey people look like idiots and lazy and whatever. And then
like they were hip to wasting government money.
Exactly correct. Not to mention the fact that you're bound to make the same mistakes with this, whatever changes you're putting in. And here's my thing, Nicole. I get that the people that voted MAGA, and especially right now, are like, the system is so fucking broken. I want to blow it up. I get that that's the motivation. And can I tell you that on the few right wingers that I've looked at that are like or very much pro-Trump, anti like government, their whole feeling is like, all they're doing is telling you where your taxes are being spent. Democrats are such idiots that, they don't want to know where their taxes are going. We're the smart ones because all we're asking for is, where are our taxes going? Where's our money being spent? I get it. I understand that thought process. But can I tell you, as a Democrat, I don't love where our taxes go either. I don't understand why our taxes are going to buy all this military and planes and this and that, and it's not going for universal health care. Like, I am just as disenchanted with our taxes. And do I feel like there is an opportunity to make systems more efficient? 1,000%.
Yeah. And do I doubt that there is wasteful government spending? Not at all.
I know I'm
not stupid.
That's right. I know there is. But I'm telling you, it's not coming from... That's right. It's not coming from Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. That's not where that's coming from. We already know where our tax money in a lot of ways is going, but there are these like places that they go where it just is it completely gets obscured. And so I'm all for more transparency in the government. I'm there. I'm with you. We are on the same page. What I'm not okay with is like, I'm going to stop all payments to farmers until we've had a chance to take 6 months to research farming. We're going to stop all of our payments to Social Security because Trump now has to come up with $85 billion or whatever price tag it was to deport a whole bunch of Mexicans. And my fear is that we're not going to get markedly enough insight into where our tax money is going to be able to answer some of the questions that I think both Democrats and Republicans are wildly, yes, in favor for.
And I think too that when we know that there is a legal way to go about doing what they are currently doing, and they're refusing to do it the legal way because the legal way is just wrong and it takes too long and I'm not waiting. And like you said, that, MAGA voted us in here to, drop a bomb in the middle of everything and blow it the fuck up.
Yep.
It then makes me feel like I don't have any reason to believe anything you're telling me.
That's
because I know there's legal ways for you to do what you're doing. You don't need to shut down an entire department and ask everyone to select themselves out of a job so that you can go in and do an audit and determine whether the funds are being spent properly.
That's right.
Or not.
That's exactly right. To your point, there is a legal way to go about this. And if you're not doing it the legal way, it feels it's because you want to do something bad.
Nefarious. Yeah. You're trying to be shady and dirty.
That's right. You clearly, and if people are like, and this is what drives me crazy, if you're dumb enough to believe that it just doesn't work fast enough, then you're an idiot. Because let me tell you that there are conflicts of interest. There are plenty of reasons, billions and billions of dollars of reasons why Elon Musk wants access to your data, wants access to military contracts, to all of our spending contract information. There are reasons. And there are reasons why the richest 1% want to remove all the regulations that they can. And I'm telling you, it's not because they just feel that it's wasteful spending. They are doing this, number one, for retribution against Democrats because they know this is a pet project of Democrats. And number two, because the lower the regulations are on our 1%, the more they can get away with stuff. Period. Yeah. It's that 100%. Simple. And you're going to pay for it. CFPB is the one that took out overdraft fees of $100 a piece. Yes. That's coming back.
Keeps credit card companies from charging you a fucking 75%. Yeah. And 75% interest.
Exactly correct. It is the CFPB that does that. So, and I've said for a while now that, I'm lucky enough that I don't have to worry about a lot of those issues, but I know a lot of people that do. Yeah. And it's gonna really suck. And
how many more of us are going to start declaring bankruptcy now when we get our credit card statement and our interest rate is through the fucking roof and we can't even make the minimum payment anymore?
That's right. Okay. So here's the other thing. I think most of us are like, are you fucking serious that Elon Musk has taken over the government?
Right.
Mark and I were talking the other day about what do we do? What can we do about this?
Yeah.
I feel like we're at that point where we're so gerrymandered. I do feel like if we had a strong House or Senate, we probably could get Congress people that really fought against a lot of this shit. But we are so gerrymandered. At this point, I honest to God, I'm like, let them secede. They wanted to secede to, let them secede and let's just, Canada, normal people, them. They can have the South. They can have fucking Florida. From Florida to Texas, Arkansas to Tennessee, fine. I don't care. Yeah. Y'all go, start your little Elon Musk dictatorship, enjoy. Right. This is how I literally feel at this point because I'm certainly not at the point of let's form a rebellion and, pick up arms. That's not me. That's not what I'm going to do. And I know I voted every chance I've gotten where we talk about this once a week to try and get a message out. What can we do? So I don't know. I think that's probably my next, I don't know. It's just really disheartening that it feels like there's just not a lot that we can do right now except sit back and watch. And you have stupid ass Republicans that are like, well, all they're trying to do is show you what happens with your taxes. Go fuck yourself.
That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're doing. They're breaking the law. And because you're so worried about your own fucking career and your own ass, you're refusing to stand up for the Constitution. You're refusing to stand up for all Americans, including your own fucking constituents that put you where you're at. Yep. And you don't want to let go of your own free government health care. Yep. I throw that at people every chance I get. Don't you ever forget that your fucking representatives get free health care off your back.
Oh, you can't have it. You pay for it.
But you get it.
And
Oh,
all
they get
these
it.
buildings that are being denied to your Congress
Access
people, you
to?
pay for
Yeah.
all those. Like,
That's right.
this is where
That's where your tax dollars go.
That's right. And this is what's so frustrating is it's like you realize Donald Trump, Elon Musk, you work for us.
For us.
We don't work for you, and the
Right.
government employees don't work for you. They work for us. We're
Yes.
the ones. And so the fact that we just continue to like let this happen is frustrating, but I am encouraged by the fact that yesterday they blocked DOGE's access to the Treasury Department. I'm hoping we have more judges that continue to stand up to this, because at this point, I mean, the Supreme Court certainly is not going to do anything. But
there were major protests in major cities this last week against the Trump administration, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, your right to peaceful protest is still a thing that exists in the Constitution as of today.
Yes. So that was a big deal this last week, where the February protests, a lot of the protesting right now is about immigration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had an ICE raid in Liberty.
In our little town. Mm-hmm. There was an ICE raid this week, and I heard maybe 12 employees were detained.
Like that.
I don't know how many of them were deported. I don't know, but 12 employees. I also heard there was another Mexican restaurant somewhere in the Kansas City area that had ICE agents asking for documentation. I heard, or I saw that the chief of police posted on Facebook that these were not Kansas City police agents.
The Clay County Sheriff did the same thing.
Yes,
because they showed up at the one in Liberty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's been pretty terrible for anybody that, even if they are legal, that if they don't have their paperwork, they're being detained, they're being taken off their job. I've been hearing that it's, you know, we're getting ready to open up Guantanamo Bay for us to house and hold these people.
30,000 migrants.
And I think this is something that, like, my husband is very much like, how in the world is this the option that we have of, you know, we're going to need detention camps. And so we're putting them at fucking Guantanamo Bay.
Well, with the orchestrators of 9/11,
right?
Like, we've been trying to shut Guantanamo Bay down since the Obama years, like for a very long time. And I know that people on the right get sick of the comparisons to Nazi Germany and today. But I can't help but make the comparison. That's what the Nazis originally called. They're just a detention camp. They're just a work camp for right now. We're just sending them to these work camps while we figure things out.
Yep.
And so it's hard for me to not hear the echo of 1930s Germany in what is happening today.
Yep. Yeah. I don't see how it's much different whatsoever.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
It seems exactly the fucking same. So love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Switching gears.
Yeah.
The other big news this week is, of course, we are no longer allowed to use LGBTQ plus. It is now just LGB. Yep. I guess even Social Security Administration changed its reference to LGBTQ to just LGB. Nobody's allowed to use the transgender. They're also not allowed to use pronouns now in like their email signatures and on LinkedIn and shit like that, that government employees are no longer supposed to be using, you know, he, him, they, or he, him, whatever, they, them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She, her. Yeah.
Yes. So, that was pretty depressing. I also, NCAA made their change where now absolutely zero trans athletes could compete in any college sports, which I know you and I were talking about earlier, represents a huge percentage of NCAA athletes, right?
Yeah, it's, hold on, I think I have the actual quote here somewhere, but I believe it's like 0.001%. I believe it's, okay, yes. Testifying before a Senate panel in December, NCAA President Charlie Baker said there are fewer than 10 transgender athletes he is aware of who currently compete in college sports, accounting for 0.002% of all NCAA athletes nationwide. 10.
So, yep.
10 fucking athletes.
Yep. And what's crazy to me is the vast majority of them are women trying to compete in men's athletics. So
right, it's not the boogeyman that they want you to believe that it is. I have a whole thing on this. Like yeah.
Yep. And didn't you say that we were talking in last week's podcast that Missouri just voted on a trans ban? Is that right?
So Missouri that's DEI stuff. Yes, they are trying to do trans bans.
And it's so disheartening.
It was in Governor Kehoe's State of the State address, but there's also something that, so in his State of the State address on January 29th, Governor Kehoe stated that the administration will be built on merit and will not support DEI programs in state government. They have also, because they're also this past week trying to do a new constitutional amendment around abortion, which we just passed in November, because they're trying to outlaw abortion again in our state and come up with a new constitutional amendment, which is a whole other conversation to have. But as a part of this new amendment, if it gets approved to be put to the voters, is a total ban on gender affirming healthcare for minors.
Love that. I watched a TikTok today that was a woman who taught elementary education for 1 billion years. And she was, she's like, during quiet time is when we start grooming the kids in order for them to go through the reassignment surgery.
I mean, that's how you have to. That's the only time you really have it available to you.
So to your point,
during your planning sessions.
That's right. I had a friend on Facebook who had someone just fucking rail against her by posting something about LGBTQ rights. And I mean, she just posted a meme that was like LGBTQ, whatever. And someone just railed on her about how threatening it is to kids and how we have to protect our kids. And every time someone now posts something about protecting kids, my first question is, what's the number one killer of children under 18? What's the number one? It's fucking guns. You want to protect kids? Go after guns. Then come talk to me.
That's right.
Transgender is like 1 billion notches down on the list. Yes. Your number one threat to kids is guns. Go fucking ban your guns and then come talk to me. And otherwise, go fucking suck a dick. Oh my God.
Yeah. Like I have so many, not conflicting. I have so many big feelings around all of this.
Me too.
Jamie and I had a conversation about it. I guess it's probably been over a week ago now, because I was saying to him, I just don't understand why transgender folks have become the boogeyman for the right.
I don't either.
Why is this, because I said to him, transgender folks are not the ones that are making your gas too high that you can't afford it. You can't afford to buy a house. You can't afford to pay your rent. You can't afford like all these things. And he had an interesting take on it, because he said, when I read this stuff or when I look at this stuff, he's like, it's low hanging fruit. He's like, he's like, most of us, he's like, I have a transgender person that works for me, but most Americans do not know anyone who is transgender. No. So it's low hanging fruit. So they start with transgender folks knowing we're probably not going to get a lot of pushback. Let's see what kind of pushback we get with this. And then we go from transgender folks to just straight on going for the queer community as a whole. Yeah. And you and I obviously have big feelings about that. It is a huge fear for me as a mother, what I think their ultimate goal is for the queer community. Yeah. It's in Project 2025. They don't want them to be married. They don't want them to be able to have children. All the things. To your point though, I still don't understand why. It makes me so emotional. You and I have had this conversation before. Yeah.
I recognize the fact, there was another fucking lawmaker that came out last week who had introduced all sorts of like anti-gay, anti-this, anti-that, like was housing child porn, right? Like I get the fact that people who struggle with a thing can be fearful with that thing. Right.
And they want to outlaw it because they think it's going to help them overcome their inclination.
So this is where I think all of this comes from. Like I can't logically in my head make
Wrap our
sense
brains
of
around it.
why it would come from anywhere else other than I know I fight feelings of being attracted to the same gender and I need to figure out a way. So I'm going to villainize that in my mind so that I can convince myself not to be this thing. And then by villainizing it in my mind, I'm now villainizing it as a lawmaker, as a priest, as a whatever. And like,
Right.
this is what I'm doing. And so I am floored by the fact that like, so every time I hear someone say that they're really anti-gay people, anti-transgender people, I literally want to be like, so you're gay.
Right.
It's the only explanation. So you're gay and closeted. That sucks for you. If you need someone to talk to when you finally come out of the closet, I'm here for you. Like that is the only explanation I can find because and we saw that we're going to go back to the Nazis again. We saw that in the Nazis, right? They started with the gay community, then they moved to the Jewish community and the Black communities. Like if you start with a small community and then expand it, you can continue to suppress the people that you want to suppress. And to your point, Donald Trump, clearly it's transgender people and Mexicans, and then it will eventually be gay people and it'll eventually be Black people. Like there's no doubt in my mind that he has plans to 100% like want to. And I guess it's a threat to your power. And this is why, like, you know, you want to, I don't understand it, but regardless.
Two things I have on that. One, also to your point about like being closeted, and that this is why you want to ban something is because you know your own inclinations. It's very much also like when J. Edgar Hoover ran the FBI.
Yeah.
It was well known around Washington, his penchant for cross-dressing. It was well known, all of those, which is why he had the dossiers that he did on all of the political folks that he did.
Yep.
Because it was his way to maintain power and their secrecy on who he was, because that was not an okay thing to be back then. But I also think I saw an interview, and I don't know who this transgender person was. It was a very quick clip, and I'm not sure who they were. I don't even know what show they were on. But they had an interesting, because they were being asked the same thing, like, why do you think there's so much transgender fear? And this individual said, because if they start treating us with respect, they have to treat women with respect too. If they see us as people that are fully deserving of all the rights that everyone else has and all the things, then you can't continue to withhold rights from women. Especially a trans woman. If you're going to say that a trans woman is fully capable of having all the rights as any other American, you can't withhold that from a cis woman.
Well,
and they're not ready to do that for any of us.
Well, to your point, I think in thinking about suppressing groups, women are certainly part of those groups, right? We know that. We're seeing that with our reproductive rights. Which is why
the pick-me women are willing to sacrifice other women and other marginalized communities in order to be in favor with white men. Yeah,
which is insanity. Oh my, I really just, at this point, I think we should all agree that the next time someone spouts anti-gay rhetoric to you in any way, shape, or form, just make sure they know that when they come out of the closet, you will be an ally for them.
That you will be a safe space for them.
That's exactly right. Some other crazy shit happened this week. I loved Trump continuing to talk about buying Greenland, buying the Panama Canal, taking back the Panama Canal. Canada as the 51st state, like, oh my God.
This shit's really just off the rails.
That's right. But again, I feel that those are all like distractions from the big stuff that we've talked about, which really is like the DOGE and the mass deportation. So we'll see what happens there. The one thing that did happen this week, of course, is for, Trump came out and had comments about the Gaza Strip and kind of
God. Yes. The Gaza Strip. Yes.
Yeah. And so I'll be honest, I've been hearing a lot lately that the Michigan group that really supported Trump and talked about Trump, they are really, really struggling with how they feel about it. Donald Trump came out and says that they wanted to take control over Gaza. And then he was talking about, he posted it on social media, on True Social, like, this is what he wants to do. And so I'm really curious how this is going to play out with the people that are.
And I will be the first to admit, I've tried to do research. I've tried to grasp, like, when the fight started, when Hamas started, when they went in and, you know, started killing those, those kids at the music festival, and like when all the things started. I have tried for years, anytime there's been fighting over there, specifically around the Gaza Strip, to understand it. I know that it's a religious, cultural war for them. You know, it's that they want a two-party state, or it's their religious homeland. I cannot wrap my brain around it. I think some of it is because I'm a heathen and I don't have a religious ideology. And so it's hard for me to understand the nuance in that. But I think telling the Palestinian people, you can't live here anymore because it's a shithole, in essence, is what he's saying. And I'm going to come in and put a bunch of Trump towers in, and we're going to make it a resort palace area.
Oh, God.
And why would you want to live there? We'll get you big, beautiful, modern homes in these other countries like Jordan and Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is like, go fuck yourself. Like, this is not... These people don't want that. You're making these blanket statements about an entire group of people who this is their only home. Like, this is all they've ever known. Yep. So sure, it's being bombed to shit and they're upset and there's all these other issues going on around it. But that doesn't mean they want to go live in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, can you imagine?
Don't get it.
Can you imagine if Canada, as a response to all of this, goes to, I don't know, New York, and says, we don't want you guys to live here anymore, starts bombing the shit out of them, like takes out their schools, takes out their hospitals, like displaces people from homes. I mean, like, and they said that it was, I think they were saying that there were 750,000 Palestinians that were rejected from their homes in this area. So they're going to absolutely fucking attack the shit out of the state of New York. Yeah. And Mexico's like, we'll give you houses in whatever. You can have that. Yeah. We're going to take over New York. We'll kick Canada out, but we're going to take over New York. And now we'll give you houses here in Mexico City. You're welcome. Right. No, Tijuana. We'll give you houses even in Tijuana. Better. You're welcome. Yes. Like, why would you think our response
It's a shithole. You don't want to go back.
That's exactly right. What do you fucking think our response would be? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Saudi Arabia is gorgeous. Like, people go, like, it's whatever. But the fact is like that the idea of, okay, well, we'll just displace you out of this location and give you houses someplace else is absolutely fucking insane. Like, the fact that this is our response. And to your point, I can't understand the cultural and religious value of a piece of land because I don't feel that way religiously. But New York's a big fucking deal, right? Or any of our states, to be perfectly honest, Michigan, any of our states our land, your land is your land is your land. And when you have people that are living there that now get fucking bombed and displaced, it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Well, and I think the idea, this kind of touches back on what we were talking about at the beginning with DOGE. Yeah. The idea that you would be okay with our tax dollars going to rebuild the Gaza Strip, but not allow the Palestinians to continue to live there. And you're not okay with us assisting Ukraine while they were a sovereign nation being unduly fired upon by Russia. Help me work that out. How do you, I don't understand. Ukraine was our ally and you didn't want our tax dollars helping them fight fucking Russia. We're never, okay, I'm going to say this and maybe one of our 6 followers would not agree with me and maybe I'll get some hate mail. I don't know. Okay. But I feel like as an American, we are never supposed to be on the same side of Russia. Fucking ever. So I don't give a shit if Russia invades fucking China. I don't care. We're never on the side of Russia. Ever.
Right.
Anything
If
those
Russia and
motherfuckers
China
are
invade
doing,
each other,
we're
like
against
they can work it out.
Yes.
Like, good luck to you all.
But when
to
they're
your
invading
point,
a smaller
we
nation,
grew up in the Cold War.
yes.
We grew up with grandparents that went to World War II.
Yeah.
We grew up in an environment and have been longstanding enemies with Russia.
Yeah.
So yes, I realize Russia has now democratic elections. Ha ha ha. But
Right.
to your point, I
In air
think
quotes.
that, you know, it is fair to say that, yes, in general, if you're on the side of Russians or Nazis, I feel like if you are ever on the side of Russians or Nazis, you really have to take a step back and be like, am I making good life choices?
Right,
and
exactly.
take a look around and be like,
yes,
ooh, I live in whatever. I do not make good life choices.
Yes.
And I would just say that's a blanket statement for, you know what? I'm going to go wake up my freaking 13-year-old son and make sure I let him know, son,
yes,
you're ever on the same side as Russia or Nazis, let's have a conversation to make sure you're making the right life choices. I would agree.
Yeah.
So to your point, I mean, so what it shows is a very flippant view of how easily not only can Trump be swayed to look at one way or another, but how he just does not ever really consider, in my opinion, all the impacts of what he does. And this is the same as DOGE, right? It's let's just blow the fucker up and then see what sticks. Like that's
and he doesn't. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, he doesn't think about the repercussions of the shit that he's doing.
Right, yeah, and because the man doesn't read, and because and I say that not because I am a reader, but it's not. I'm not saying that like
readers are better.
I am being. Yes, I'm not trying to. Thank you. Yes, I'm not trying to elevate myself as like, oh, I read, so fuck everybody. Like
that's right.
But it's the fact that he refuses to read. He refuses to educate himself on anything regarding anything he's talking about. He is willing to say the most inflammatory shit because it gives him because he has some kind of emotional reaction to it. So he feels like he needs to spout it. And this came out during Trump 1.0, that typically the last person in the room was the last person that he listened to, and he went with whatever they said.
That's right.
And anything that he has a visceral emotional reaction to, that's why this whole thing of with like the transgender folks, like the naming it of like protecting women from men in sports. Like, you're not protecting women. You're saying this shit to make it seem like that's what you're doing. It's not what you're doing. And so you have to really obviously watch what they do, because that's way more important than sometimes hearing what they're saying. But you have to be able to read between the lines, because he says these big grandiose things because he thinks it makes him sound smart, that it makes him seem like a protector. The man has a fucking history of being a fucking predator. I went through this whole goddamn thing about his time with, whatever, I'm getting off on a rant. Never mind. I'm getting us totally off track and off on a different rant. I can go over that later. So sorry.
No, but I'm 100% with you that whoever he last talks to is the person that he's likely to go with. And that is what it is. So I agree. I think that we can both agree. And again, it's that whole, I get the MAGA mentality of blow the system up and let's rebuild it because we can do it better. I get it. So I will leave us all. I want to, first of all, are there any other topics that you think we should address this week?
No, I have so many that I know. I'm just going to move them to next week's tab.
For realsies, there's so much going on.
Because every day, it's just a deluge.
There's something
It's hard to keep up with it.
Right. But I feel like the immigration stuff, the DOGE stuff, these crazy ass international, like USA, these are the things that I'm trying to put as much focus on as possible, because those are the big things. But it's hard not to talk about big balls too. So it is what it is. With that said, again, I just want to make the point that like Democrats and Republicans are not as far apart as our career politicians would want you to believe.
Want us to think.
I was watching a video by somebody who was talking about how mainstream media, especially specific mainstream media, has worked so hard at making it a Democrat versus Republican thing, when at the end of the day, as Americans, of course, we all want to know where our money is going. Of course, we want to cut government waste that we all know is happening. Of course, most of us want things that help all of us, like Social Security, and which we paid for, by the way.
That's
and
right.
we want to help Right. We want to help our poorest people because we know that we could be in those situations at some point. Like most of us are on the same page with things. Most people feel pretty close. Now, abortion is one of those things that's we're never going to be there. I don't ever foresee us being there. But for most things, we are all on the same page. And so we've got to stop making it so much of an us versus them, because at this point, I think we very much are like, yeah, Bernie Sanders, the reason we supported him, and AOC, the reason we supported her was because they wanted to go in and make huge monumental changes, not just keep the status quo, which is what we have been dealing with for so many years. So I get it. But at the end of the day, like, the way Trump is going about it is destructive. And the people that are going to get hurt are the poorest people in our communities, the people that need it the worst. And so just that is why I think most of us are so against these scenarios. Anyway,
and I think we have, for a lot of these decisions that they're making, the things that they're doing, the cruelty seems to be the point.
It really is. That's what it feels like.
It's hard for me to accept that. It's hard for me to swallow that, because I think when you lead with cruelty, you can't possibly have anybody's best interests in mind and at heart. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yes. So to your point, we've talked about this before, that you can either lead with fear or you can lead with love. And Trump is very much a lead with fear kind of person. Yep. And it feels like all the people that are supporting him are trying to do the same thing. And so to your point, like, we're seeing the retaliation against people that speak out against Trump. We've seen the retaliation against people that like prosecuted the January 6th people. Like, we see we're trying to install fear, and it's very much a dictator tactic. Whereas we saw people like Obama lead for years on love and invited people to speak out against him, invited people to disagree with him. Like, let's have a conversation. And I think that fundamentally, to your point, is a big difference that I think is difficult between the two sides, the two parties. So anyway.
Yeah. And I think I should, because I tend to get real fucking emotional in these things in the last couple of weeks. And I tend to get real, like, angry and down in a rabbit hole.
Hard not to.
I want us to end on something happy. I'm going to look some stupid random shit up that's something good that's happened in the last week. And we're going to end on that. Okay. A pizza driver got a $2 tip in a snowstorm. So people raised thousands of dollars for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
On January 11th, a cop, it appears, posted a video on TikTok. He's known as Officer Craig, showing his interaction with a 20-year-old delivery driver for Rockstar Pizza in Indiana. He was delivering a pizza in blizzard-like conditions.
Wow.
He trudged through the snow in his sneakers and sweats to be able to get to the house because his car could not get up the street. And he only got a $2 tip.
Oh my.
So this officer posted it on TikTok, and people started donating thousands of dollars to this guy because of his work ethic and him going above and beyond to get this pizza delivered. So there's a good thing that happened this past week.
That is nice.
And maybe the home where he delivered the pizza could only afford a $2 tip. I'm not denigrating the $2 tip because it doesn't matter. But shout out to this guy for going above and beyond with his amazing work ethic. People that say Gen Z doesn't, as a mother of a Gen Zer, you cannot just blanket say Gen Z kids are lazy. They don't want to work.
No.
They don't want to work for bullshit wages, and they don't want to work for bullshit bosses.
Right.
But this kid clearly has a work ethic. He's 20 years old, and look at us Americans rallying behind him and donating thousands to this kid.
I love that.
I mean?
Yes. Yeah. All right. I love that.
I'm going to challenge myself to find us something happy to end on, because Lord knows there's a lot of bleak shit that we're having to talk about. So
no shit.
We got to
I think
end
if
with
we end
something
on
happy.
something like a good, I agree. I think that's good. I think that's a good idea. Like we'll try and happy it up over here.
Bring it back up. We're going to bring you down, and then we're going to bring you back up. It's going to be fine. Right. Welcome to the roller coaster.
Today,
go Chiefs!
Is the Super Bowl.
It is the Super Bowl.
And I gotta say, like, in all fairness, I hear the media who keeps saying that everybody hates the Chiefs, but I feel like, we're America's team. We're America's new team. So hopefully if we win and we get the three-peat, if you are not a Chiefs fan after this, you will become one, because we could love. Yeah. We need the love. We need the love.
Yeah. We need the love. That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Go Chiefs.
That's right.
Please like, subscribe, share this with all of your right-wing friends and see what happens.
Let us know how those discussions go.
That's right. All right. Bye.
Bye.